So today I kind of just wanted to talk about my first 6 months of the year, how they've been going reading wise, I guess personal wise a little bit, and then talk about like 3 specific books that kind of I've been thinking about a lot over the last 6 months, or that impacted me in some way in the last 6 months as well. So for the first half of this year, like first 6 months of this year, I've kind of been struggling with there's just been so much that I've been experiencing in my personal life, but also I'm experiencing a lot of positive things. So it's kind of this dichotomy inside of me where I'm experiencing a lot of grief, but I'm also experiencing some of the best things that and most exciting things that have ever happened to me. So it's kind of weird trying to balance them. I've been journaling quite a bit, and really trying to internalize things as they happen, and not shrink away from my emotions. And that as well with my emotions. I've been experiencing a whole new range of them that I had no clue existed. I don't know, like 4 years ago, if you'd have asked me, I would have told you that I have experienced like the widest range of human emotions. Like I was only 16 4 years ago. Like I'm 20 now, and I truly feel like this is a whole nother ballgame. In terms of the complexity of my emotions, how deeply I'm feeling them, which I'm gonna try to take as a good thing. I'm feeling deeply, which means I'm alive, um, means I'm actually genuinely living. But it's hard to remember that as a positive thing when you're freaking out and the emotions are negative. But yeah, it's been an interesting 6 months. I think at the end of the video, I'm gonna kind of put like montage, I guess, of some things that have happened this year, mostly for myself, but I'll try and edit it to be cozy and cute. So maybe you'll find some joy in it. But other than that, here are the books that I kind of wanted to talk about. Well, first, let's talk about my reading year, just in general. I had a few reading slumps this year, which is normal for me. It kind of waxes and wanes, how much I really desire to read, as well as how much time I have to read, which is just, I feel like, realistic. I don't think there's ever going to be a year where I'm consistently reading the same amount of books every single month. At least I would marvel at that. That's the goal, but I don't think it's gonna happen. But I'm trying to remember going through the year and you know, as I pick more books to read, as I finish books, I've been trying to really pick books that I know I will actually be interested in, that my body is aching to read. Like, sometimes I know that there are books that I have in my house right now that I am extremely excited to get to, but it's just not the right time. And I'm trying to pick books that I'm in the moment desiring to read. So if that's a shitty romance, so be it. If that's a really dense classic, so be it. I want to just honor what I'm feeling in hopes that it brings a bit more consistency. I also changed my reading goal from 50 to 40. It was originally 50, but that was a little bit generous. It really was. So I moved it to 40. I think this is attainable. I have another semester. I have some full semester coming up, and it's going to be very busy, but I'm hoping to God that I can keep on track so that I can read the amazing books that I'm excited to read. Other than that, I'm kind of observing my reading interests change as I experience new things, and deal with new struggles and stuff like that. I really, really, really have been feeling a desire to get into philosophy. I've taken one philosophy class in my college career, and I tanked that shit. So, I was just so frustrated. I didn't know any of the terminology. I didn't realize that it wasn't really a beginner class, or an introductory class. So it was hell on earth. It was terrible, and I take that shit. So I am now very interested in, I've recovered from my trauma of taking that class, and I really want to learn some more, but I'm kind of stuck because I don't know where to start. And every time I Google it or I try and go on Reddit or something, everybody has kind of conflicting and combating opinions about where to start. So if you do have any recommendations, please, 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 please help me. Um, please help me. Some names that I have on the top of my head of, like, I guess philosophers that I think I might be interested in. If I'm saying their names wrong, I completely apologize. I don't know anything about this, okay? But Heidegger and Kierkegaard, I think, are two people that their philosophies sound interesting to me. So, if you have any recommendations, please help. Even for just introductory books or websites that explain things or podcasts, anything, please help me. Let's get on to the books that I want to talk about. I only want to talk about 3 really in depth. And they're not necessarily my favorites, but they're 3 that have, like, kind of really stuck with me over the past 6 months for some reason. Either it was really influential in terms of my writing, or the style was really impactful to me. Yeah, I just have 3 of them. So the first one I don't have physically. I listened to this on audiobook. I think this was late December 2023 going into January. I finished it definitely in January, end of January though. The book is long as hell. We're talking about Empire of Pain, by the way. Sorry, I didn't even say the name yet. We're talking about Empire of Pain. I don't remember the author's name, but it's that book about the Sacklers and the opioid epidemic. Yeah. This was the first long form nonfiction book that I have ever read. And I don't even think this is generous to say that I've read 5 nonfiction books in the entire course of my reading career. Like, nonfiction was never something that I was interested in before. Especially because it's kind of hard to eliminate that bias. I feel like every informational book is going to have some sort of bias, and that kind of turns me off a little bit because I dislike, obviously, reading biased sources, but it's something you can't really get away from. As well as credible sources are hard to find because anybody can just write a book nowadays. So it's like every time I go try and find a nonfiction book, I'll go into, like, the reviews, and people will be like, this is an incredibly biased take. So yeah, it's kind of hard for me to find books that I'm actually interested in that, you know, are good for me to read. But this one was very, 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 very entertaining for me, very impactful for me. It made me realize how prevalent, like, of course I always knew this. Subconsciously, everybody knows this. Like, it's glaring in our faces every single day. The privilege that so many people have, especially if you are high in society. But this book made it abundantly clear in a scary way how deep the roots of privilege run in God's America. And it's very scary to witness as an American citizen. And yeah, I don't know. It also made it so abundantly clear to me how do I word this? It makes it abundantly clear how some of the venomous things that run through our society are resulting from big corporations and the government trying to make some money. And it's quite horrifying when you think how deep it runs, because it's systemically built in the literal fiber of our nation, which is horrifying. And this book also launched, like, a very deep hyperfixation with the opioid epidemic and learning everything there ever was about it. And it inspired a short story that I wrote for my spring semester advanced creative writing class, that I am very, very proud of, and am now trying to expand into either, like, a novella or a short story or something like that. So yeah, that's why that book is kind of important to me in my roster of books for this year. Next book I do have in person, so I can kind of hold it up and show you. I'm sorry if it's been boring staring at my face. I'm so sorry. But oh my god, where is it? Okay, second book is Nefando by Monica Ojeda. I'm so sorry if I said her name wrong. I apologize. But this book is kind of hard to describe. I'm gonna try and hold it steady. I'm so sorry, I'm kind of waving it everywhere. But this book is kind of hard to explain. I'm gonna first tell you how I came across it and why I kind of wanted to read it. I am a big fan of looking for my next read on ChatGPT. I think ChatGPT is a wonderful. I'm so sorry. I know, war against AI, war against AI. I'm so sorry, but ChatGPT really did eat on this thing. So, I get a lot of my book recommendations from ChatGPT just by putting in authors' names and the styles that I'm interested in, and letting it give me some recommendations that kind of are kind of along those lines. Sometimes they're a miss. But this one was a win. How would I describe this book in terms of plot? It's about a few artists that live in the same apartment in Barcelona. And they're all kind of dealing with their own respective demons and traumas and everything, and internal struggles. And there's twins in the apartment, and they're kind of dealing with a shared trauma that's very dense, and they start making this kind of pornographic, it's described as a pornographic video game that has a kind of nebulous meaning and quite a lot of internet speculation, and it's kind of like dark webbish, and it's kind of told in, they get the help essentially of other artists in the apartment, and it's told through a series of interviews with a detective, I believe, and it's incredibly rich in terms of style and experimental storytelling, which I thought was incredibly, it was groundbreaking. Honestly, this is one of these books that I read that I was like, wow, this is what language can do, this is what storytelling can do. And when I was searching for the book, I was searching for books like Fernanda Melchor's Paradise and Hurricane Season, because she's my favorite author. If you talk to me about books at all, you know that's my favorite author. And I was trying to look for more authors that were kind of similar to her in terms of style, and this one, it is incredibly dense and heavy and descriptive and graphic. So if you do have any triggers, I would recommend looking up triggers for this book, because there certainly is like a whole fucking lot. But it's beautiful and experimental, and quite short. I think it's only like 180 pages ish. One particular thing that sticks with me now, it's like to this day, I think I finished this book in May. A particular thing that sticks with me is how Ojeda used Aztec mythology with one of the characters as a metaphor for how their gender dysphoria felt, and I found that masterfully done. It was gorgeous. And the book also opened up some conversations that were incredibly interesting to me, that I've had some passive interest in the past, and has come up in books that I really enjoy in the past that I kind of want to delve deeper into. For one, kind of religious mysticism, which I do want to get into a lot more. So if you do have any more books about that, recommendations down below, please. I do have some in my head that I'm thinking about reading, but it's just finding them, because they're not available in any library. I would have to spend my money on it, which is painful. But yeah, I do really want to read it, so I'm gonna have to make the sacrifice. But conversations about that, as well as how deep the roots of religious constructs kind of run in society, and how that affects what we think about how we love, and how we present ourselves and everything like that. I thought those conversations were incredibly interesting. I write in my books. I'm a big writer, so I do have some underlines, and I'm gonna see if I can find one to read to you, one or two. Okay, so I can't find a particular quote that I really want to read because all of it needs kind of context within the story, but I'll kind of read the description of the back on how it relates to the game, which is called Nefando, the title. And it says, Nefando, a controversial cult video game whose purpose remains a mystery. In the parallel reality of the game, players found relief from the pain of past trauma and present shame, but also a frighteningly elastic sense of self and ethics. Is Nefando an escape for horror enthusiasts? A challenge to players' morals, or a poetic exercise? What happens in a virtual world that admires every taboo? Unsparing, addictive, and perverse, Nefando takes us to the darkest corners of the web, revealing the inevitable entanglement of digital and physical worlds and of technology and horror. I love a little spooky, disgusting book. So that did the spot for me. It's also by Coffee House Press, who puts out other extremely interesting books. If you have any other authors that have a kind of stream of consciousness, really unique, kind of disjointed storytelling style, hand them over, please. Hand them. But the last book that I wanted to talk about in depth is Sexing the Cherry by Jeanette Winterson. So this book I particularly wanted to talk about because it's kind of showing the shift that's going on with my interest in reading. I used to hate surreal shit. Fantasy I could deal with, but surreal where shit didn't make any sense, I used to hate that. And now I'm really growing to quite enjoy it. And the first time I experienced enjoying something like that was Italo Calvino's Invisible Cities. I'm so sorry if I'm saying names wrong. I'm so sorry. But this reminded me so much of that book, and his type of style as well. And I loved it. I was enamored. From the second I opened the book, I got this for like 25 cents or 50 cents at a big book sale that my town or my county does sometimes. And it incredible. Oh, hi Marlo. Do you want to say hi? Hi baby. It's my kitty. I don't know if he'll come up here. He probably won't. But what was I saying? Yeah, I got it for like 50 cents or something. And I opened it because on a whim. I didn't even know what it was about, and I opened it and I read the first page and I said, oh, hell yes. I read Invisible Cities in my first full semester in college, might have been second. And that was back when I was still studying English. And I really, really loved the book. I read it kind of disgustingly fast, because I was kind of running late, which is partially one of the reasons why I switched my degree. I hated being put on a schedule and a deadline for when to consume my literature. So it just didn't work for me. I was reading too many books I didn't want to read. It was just sucking the soul out of reading for me. But I really did enjoy that book. What I really particularly enjoy about literature is the way that it gives me the feeling of time being kind of cyclical and nebulous, and just anything relating with the concept of time and how we perceive it. And this book does a lot of parallels between different periods of time and how just really cyclical these experiences are. It simultaneously makes you feel comforted in knowing that these things have happened before and they will happen again, but also very discouraged because it makes me feel like we can't learn from our mistakes. And that particular um, facet of just being a reader, consuming a lot of books, um, makes it feel particularly timely for me. Yeah, it reminded me a lot of how absurd things are, well, like how absurd the shit going on right now is, how absurd existing is. I really appreciated it. It's also very feminist. So if you like things like that, you'd like the book. I really don't know how to describe it. I'll kind of read the back, though I don't think the back encapsulates anything really that the book is truly about. If you do need a kind of description of plot, I guess this would be that. By the author of The Passion, Sexing the Cherry is a dazzling novel of history, fable, and myth. The story of Jordan and his mother, the dog woman, who live in pestilent London during the reign of Charles II. When Jordan travels off to see the world, he learns that time is one, and every journey conceals another within. Journeys bounded only by the limits of imagination. As the pieces of this narrative shimmer and coalesce, like beads of mercury, brilliant and mutable, Jeanette Winterson once again demonstrates the scope of her singular vision. So yeah, it was amazing. It was quite unlike anything else that I've read this year, so it particularly stands out, I suppose. And now, I guess we'll kind of talk about some honorable mentions. One honorable mention, I recently finished The Glutton by A.K. Blakemore. I have a lot of thoughts that are not yet polished, so I can't really relay them, but it was incredible. I finished it, I think maybe only 2.5 weeks ago, and it brought up a lot of questions about, again, the political state of the world right now and how exploitation is on the root of most political systems, and how discouraging that is to know. And how it just keeps happening over and over again, and it has been happening over and over again since forever and ever, and it's quite discouraging, really. But yeah. The next book, honorable mentions, guys, you can't make fun of me for this, but The Beautiful Bastard series by Christina Lauren. Oh, listen, y'all, it got me out of a reading slump every time I was in a reading slump. I was like, what do I need right now? Some shitty romance, and I ran to that series. I think I'm on number 4 right now. Thank you, Christina Lauren. That's all I have to say. Thank you to that woman. Thank you. Another honorable mention, I finished Norwegian Wood by Murakami. Earlier today, actually, I went to Barnes & Noble and I sat myself in a chair and I finished the whole ending part. And something about Murakami, I've read 2 of his books now, and each time I just feel this intense, how do I describe it? This intense romanticization and appreciation for the life that I'm living, even if the circumstances aren't necessarily good. Something about him, even though I may be upset, I may be, depressed, I may be anxious, anything, just living the life and seeing the breeze and looking at the trees and looking at the flowers bloom is gorgeous. Simply sitting down with a cup of coffee, listening to some music, like, there are pleasures in the mundane. And I'm excited to delve into more work by him. I don't know which book I necessarily want to read left. I don't have any more that I own. I own both of the books that I have read by him. But yeah, I don't know what next book I want to read. I'm figuring it'll come to me with time. I'm gonna see if I can find a, you know, death is not the opposite of life, but an innate part of life. No truth can cure the sorrow we feel from losing a loved one. No truth, no sincerity, no strength, no kindness can cure that sorrow. All we can do is see it through to the end and learn something from it. But what we will learn will be no help in facing the next sorrow that comes to us without warning. Norwegian wood. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. I felt like it resonated a lot with some of the things that I'm experiencing now in my own life. It came to me at the perfect time. Thank you to Murakami for reminding me what it's like to be alive. I appreciate it. And this is not to say that he's not a little bit creepy. He is, and it shows. It shows in his book. But, you know, hey. And then I think that's all I'll talk about for right now. I've been filming for like 30 minutes, and it's quite long. I was gonna talk about some of the books that I'm currently reading right now, but I think it's best to save that for another video, just because of how long this has been going. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope I didn't ramble too much. I smoked a joint before this, in hopes it would help me be less nervous and weird. Because I tried to film this, like, oh god, so many times, like 4 times. And it was just not going well. So, yeah. I hope you have a good rest of your day. If it's nighttime for you, I hope you have a good sleep. And bye. Tell me what you're reading now. Also, I do want some recommendations because I've just finished Norwegian Wood. I think I'm gonna go ahead and continue to read Near to the Wild Heart by Clarice Lispector because I had started it sometime this year and I just haven't finished it yet. I think I'm 72 pages in, so I think I might finish this right now, but I'm not 100% sure. So please tell me what you're reading, give me some recommendations going forward, and on that philosophy stuff, because I want to learn so bad. Yeah, help me out, I guess that's it. That's all I have to say. Bye.